Hello and welcome to Clear Minds and Self Healing. My name is Aso and I'm super excited to have you here today. I want to thank my returning subscribers and encourage those who are watching for the first time to subscribe and turn on the notification button so that you can join and learn with us. Now, I upload content every Saturday morning around all the things that can impact on us positively and negatively. And we have conversations around those topics with the purpose of self-growth, self-healing, and empowerment. Our last topic was centered around a breakthrough mindset and how our minds are banks that we invest in. And when we find ourselves at crisis points or solution seeking points, we go to the mind for solutions and it gives us what it got. And what it's got is what we invested in our banks. Now, today, I want to look at emotional resilience and link it to the mindset because I think the heart and the mind work together. So, our today's topic is resilience. What is it? And how does it impact on the mindset, whether it's escalating the anxieties and the fear triggered by the mind or calming it down and managing it? So in effect, it's the bank manager. You have the information that you bank, and when things are triggered, when things need doing, when the mind triggers anxiety, your heart will either escalate that anxiety and fear or manage it to a point where you walk through it and carry on to points of resilience. And as we do things in this channel, we use everyday practical examples to analyze our message and make it applicable in our lives. And in today's reflection, we will be using the recent escalating issues on the news, which have been created by the saga around Chris, Jada, and Will, because I think it really sits in the middle of what defines resilience. What is resilience? It's your ability to calm the mind during a crisis. When you're feeling hurt, when the panic comes, when something big enough happens to you that sets you off in whatever direction, your ability to calm down, to calm that aspect, to talk to yourself, to use whatever methods it is that you use to remain centered in the face of that ongoing immediate issue is called resilience. The other aspect of resilience is being able to bounce back. Bouncing back means that the trauma has already happened. Its impact is already real. But how do you come out of it? How do you bounce back? How do you regain your pre-crisis coping, post-crisis? So you're either acting in a crisis or you're trying using your resilience to bounce back from a crisis. But in this instance that we are quoting for our example, Will was literally in the crisis. And our emotions can either lead to emotional health or emotional heavens. And hell is that instance where you're unable to manage those emotions appropriately, whether in the instance or cumulatively, because some of those hells happen with split-second decisions that change your life, and others have little knock-on effects that lead up to explosion. So certainly it's always hard to determine in the face of a crisis whether it's that last straw that led to the action that's visible to the eye, or it's a trigger to previous events that actually led to that instant action in that recent issue. And so whether or not Will walked onto that stage because of how he's already dealing with his family health crisis, or how he's already dealing with past insult from Chris, or something completely random or unrelated, the issue at hand is how do we learn in the future to manage our emotions better? Now, people have killed for love. People have killed for hate, and people have killed for nothing. And in a third random order case, people have killed themselves because of love, hate, or nothing. And by nothing in this instance, it's like low self-esteem, self-hate, feeling stuck, not knowing what to do. They are all emotions, whether you're loving or hating or feeling nothing, low, isolated, and anything. Those are all issues that we should be aware of in the world, because they are not physical, they are not tangible, but they are deadly. Very often we hear people who couldn't manage their emotions creating news with crime, dishing hate to the world because they're feeling dark and hurtful. And I think we need to be, as a world, more informed, more resilient, because preventing those actions does not only suit us, but has a knock-on effect on the others around us. In the same way, Chris's actions, the insult on Jada, did not end with Jada, because believe it or not, there's a whole global population that has health issues. People dealing with chemotherapy, cancer, and other health triggered hair loss problems. And whether or not Jada is a big girl enough to deal with this issue, comedy must not be void of human empathy and those situations that trigger other vulnerable people who have nothing to do with Jada to go and examine their own life values, their own emotions, and how they deal with these everyday things. And so, as we bite into our topic and really reflect on the value of resilience, I want us to see the emotional health, which is people who are struggling to be resilient and manage their emotions better, and the emotional heavens, which are what we are trying to cultivate today in people who are actually able to cultivate a resilient mindset and hearts and everything. So, what are the factors that can lead to emotional health? Those things that stop us from regulating and from managing our emotions properly, whether in the instant or dealing with already past traumatic events. The first one is being able to acknowledge that you're struggling. And that's a big problem, shockingly, for a lot of us. Minimizing the impact of things on us. You got out of a year-long or 10-year-long relationship and you pretended that you were not hurt by being dumped by that person. You pretend that it hurt, but you're okay. I mean, Chris laughed after being slapped on TV. And there's nothing else he could have done, probably, but half the world was crying for him. And he made a joke about it. And I'm sure he's not okay. I'm sure he wasn't okay being slapped in that instance. And that's a natural reaction to holding the pride and acting okay. Because when you acknowledge that you're falling apart, that you're impacted by that action, you will seek healing faster than the person who demands or proclaims that they are okay. The other thing that can lead to emotional health is acting impulsively. Because when you act in that impulse, you lack hindsight around that issue. That ability to reflect, like Will came back later to say, in your moments of glory, the devil will come for you. And as much as there's truth in that, it's coming after the devil already acted in him, through him. Because he gave away pieces of his dignity and his glory by walking onto that stage and punching him. Your ability to hold back those emotions. When you love yourself and have enough worth in yourself, you will know that I will not get into those muddy pits with so and so who is triggering or inviting me to that fight. So being able to walk away from those situations is resilience. Another thing that could potentially lead you down that emotional rabbit hole is isolation, the lack of positive friendships in your life, because pity loves misery. And if you don't create those happy situations, if you keep circling in darkness, you're most likely to explode at trigger points, because it generally is never just about that issue that triggered you in that instance, but other things that have been building up or sitting unaddressed. Whether it's how you were coping with your family health situation, or just other things that you've bottled up about this person or this issue, somehow something more than just that comment came out in that instance. And finally, in terms of emotional health, it's about letting go, learning to forgive. Forgiveness is such a beautiful thing for you. And I've done a video on this which looks at derailed destinations, because you were on the path of your glory by your own admission. You're doing amazing in your life, well respected, until someone came along with a comment and took you off of the course of that destination. And before you know it, you're following them down their dark lane to demand explanation, justification, clarification from someone who has already placed insult on your wife. There's no way that happiness will come from them. We often go to the perpetrator to ask for the whys, to ask for the reasons, to clarify that we are right and they are wrong. But they made intentional decisions to insult, to betray, to hurt. And so your healing will not come from them. If you take charge of your healing, if you put it on you, you're in control, you will be on the fastest lane of recovery than following that perpetrator and asking for that explanation or dishing that justification. And the final thing that I want to really say here is that we need to start recognizing emotional baggage as much as we recognize physical baggage. I bet if someone had walked up to you and said, tie my shoes or untie my shoes or slap me, you would see the ridicule in that sentence. But when people hand over their emotional baggages, we respond quicker because we don't see it as a baggage. And for me, I call them emotional corpses, because when our loved ones dies, we know how to bury them. We know what to do with our corpses. But when people pass over their nonsense or their insults, we often take them. We either respond the way we respond, or we fail to respond and let it eat us. But we need to learn to bury those invisible corpses, or send them back to the haters. Let them carry their corpses away with them, without us rising to the occasions and jumping into those rabbit holes that are presented by those corpses. So the final words here are the fact that just as much as our minds dictate to us at times of anxiety, our hearts can rule the mind if we learn to control and manage those emotions that trigger or calm the mind. Now, success is not the absence of fear, because we now know that when that anxiety descends from the mind, we can manage it. And at the same time, happiness is not the absence of haters or triggers or environmental and personal challenges. You have to learn to be happy irrespective of all the turmoil in the world, all the hate, all the crime. Because if you live your life by demanding to be right, everyone around you will push you in their directions. They will take you away from your destination and keep you chasing endlessly to demand for justification and clarification of intended insult, intended to derail you, to disarm you. Now, you cannot dig a grave and come out without dirt on you. So it's on you to decide why you're digging, or what else you could be doing with that time and those tools. Because the enemy can never be the healer. The thing that hurts you, the thing that derails you, we must not wait for them to come and put us back together. Emotional resilience is about building your banks on you, building your emotions around the things that will propel you. Because when you're standing firm, those around you will stand firm with the foundation that you've created. Because if we are being really honest, this story was Jada's story. It's been taken out of context by the distraction created by these punches, but she was going through an issue that she decided to fight, that she decided to control the emotions around that issue, and in doing so, empower a lot of vulnerable people around the world. And we must not let an issue on the stage distract us from the value of how she carried herself around her illness, because she could have chosen to hide it, and that would be leading down the emotional hell direction. But she wears it, she has conversations around it for herself and with others, and in doing so, empowered others and taught others how to deal with difficult situations. And it must not be a topic of ridicule, because, like it or not, a lot of people around the world are looking at icons like Jada, Will, and Chris for inspiration, for motivation, and all of this scenario is just void of resilience emotionally, and we must not approach life ignorant of the emotional hells and emotional heavens. We must seek our heaven moments. We must excel in our heaven moments, because whether we like it or not, those impacts do not end with us. Chris's words did not end with Jada. They impacted all the other people in the world with self-image issues, with hair issues. And Will's action triggered a lot of people in abusive situations, because it doesn't matter how right the perpetrator is, abuse is not tolerated, whether in private home conditions or in public atmospheres. Every perpetrator will tell you they were right to punch or to slap or to imprison somebody. But there are basic human dignity rules. And if you manage your emotions properly, you will deal with things in a more appropriate, emotionally resilient manner. I hope this message really starts to get through to us about our actions, the mind, the heart, how they can come together to actually heal or hurt us, how they can build nations, how they can create amazing relationships, or how they can burn everything down to the ground by split-second decisions that we live to regret. And so we live and learn, and nothing lasts forever. But as long as we learn and we grow, we are always going to be more resilient human beings. Thank you for listening, and please share this message and encourage everyone else to build on their mind and heart actions. Thank you very much.